Hello everybody, my name is Kieran Fitzgerald. I'm the senior engineer for the Borough region and also the environs of the city, approximately a 3-mile radius from the parade here. The theme that Dennis asked me to just introduce tonight was the smarter travel. It only has evolved into smarter travel, I suppose, in the last couple of years. But we have been steadily working within the realms of the old plan to introduce measures on the smarter travel theme. So if I might just very quickly show what the national policy framework is. You see the number of documents. Some of them mightn't be very credible, I suppose, at the moment, but the National Spatial Strategy and the National Development Plan were the key documents. And that led to various publications, particularly from the Department of Transport. The Smarter Travel document, which was a sustainable transport future over the period 2009 to 2020. And then you had the 2020 vision, which was again a sustainable travel and transport document. And very recently, 2011, we have the National Cycle Policy Framework, again issued by the Department of Transport. And it is the Department of Transport who now operate on all roads issues. Heretofore it used to be the Department of Environment. Then there's various acts that underpin the various policies, and that's more or less the legislative background, the various planning acts from 2000 to 2010. Then a very important piece of legislation is the Disability Act of 2005, and that underpins quite an amount of the work that we are trying to do particularly in the core city area at the moment. Then you have the building regs, who have been amended on a number of occasions, and particularly Part M of the building regulations, which deal particularly with people who are mobility impaired, etc. We have the South Eastern Regional Planning Guidelines. Then we have the Development Plan, the current plan, which we're working to 2007 to 2014. And then there are a number of sub-plans that form part of the City and Environs Development Plan. The Western Environs Local Area Plan was adopted in 2004. It hasn't progressed very much due predominantly to the economic downturn. The Kilkenny City Local Area Plan, which was a hugely important document, that was adopted in 2005. And then you had another document for the next section of the city, which is the Loch McCask area, basically the Tullerone Road, Granges Road, that region, and there's a local area plan also to protect the development of that area into the future. Unfortunately, I suppose none of those have progressed in the way that it was envisaged at the time. But the priority was, at all times, was the Western Environs Local Area Plan. And that's the area roughly around the Circular Road to the Callan Road to Kilcreen Hospital. Whole bank of land there, only partially developed, and is now more or less at a standstill. And then finally, there was a change in personnel, I suppose, and a change in emphasis in the council around 2008 and 2009, and because of, among other things, staff shortages, etc., we went into a shared service model. So I lost some of my responsibility and I gained others. So I'm now mainly responsible for the roads and traffic element, heritage conservation, and I've lost things like housing, etc. It's not a loss really. So the technical background, they're the various publications, National Cycling Manual, various design manuals on traffic calming, traffic signs, manual for street, then adjacent shared use for pedestrians and cyclists. And then we have what were the documents, and Dennis mentioned some of these previously, and I suppose the first one was, which was an objective of the earlier plan, the 2000 plan, was the Kilkenny Cycle and Pedestrian Network and Study, and that was done in 2002. Fairly lengthy document produced. I have a copy with me if anybody wants to see it. And that really gave the hierarchy of the cycle network for the city, but mainly the main routes into the city and also areas around the ring road. Then we have the traffic model 2002, subsequently updated in 2007. Various bits of assessments on one-way and then on-street parking charges, bus service, pedestrianisations, park and ride proposals, etc. before we formally got into the mobility management plan, etc. Now, why are we doing that? Well, Ireland has obligations under the Kyoto Protocol, as you're probably all aware, the reduction in CO2 emissions. And then, in general, why in Kilkenny? Well, to reduce congestion in the city centre, to reduce fuel costs, and they've increased approximately 80% since 2007. Accessibility in the city centre area, a safer pedestrian environment, increased tourist and commercial activity, better health, and you can see some of the statistics which are quite frightening. 60% of adults and 25% of children under 10 are considered to be overweight. And depending on who you speak to, the figures could be actually more, but I prefer to use that one as the one that's favoured by the Health Service Executive. And ultimately, you'll be reducing your spending on public health. So I've just indicated a couple of slides. That was High Street this morning to show things don't change. Car parked on the footpath, group of people walking along by the Marble City Bar, and as you can see, they can't get crossed, so that they can't get past. Now, what was the project ambition? Well, it was the reduction in car journeys and the introduction of other forms of transport, such as walking, cycling, public transport, leading to reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, health benefits, reduced accident rates, economic benefit as a result, air quality benefit, and public realm and general quality of life benefit. There again, that's Rose Inn Street today. You can see how intimidating it is. Not suitable for two-way traffic at that pinch point, and particularly people mightn't realise the impact of a wing mirror, and you can see the wing mirror of the car on the left overhangs the footpath. The footpath is essentially just suitable for one pedestrian. If you had a second pedestrian going in the opposite direction, the likelihood is that they would step off the footpath to pass, with the risk of getting clipped by the car. That has happened to one of my staff recently. Now, the other objectives, well, what we're looking at is increasing the various forms of alternative travel by those percentages. That's the object of the Kilkenny City Mobility Management Plan. Walking 19%, cycling by 90%, bus travel by 10%, car travel decreased by 20%, passengers to decrease by 4%, and other forms of transport to increase by 25%. And by that I mean, the motorbikes and other forms of transport. And those figures are based on the 2006 census, what was established in the 2006 census. Rose Inn Street at about 11 o'clock today. Speaks for itself. What are the benefits? Well, it was estimated in 2009 that the present value benefit by achieving our objectives would be a cost saving of €79 million over 30 years, but about 12 million over the first 5 years. 50% of that would be achieved by reduced vehicle operating cost, 7% of it by an increase in tourist visitors, and it was estimated that 60 new jobs would be created in increased tourism activity. But as well as that, people would generally feel better, in better health, reduced mortality rates, and reduction in absenteeism in work, etc., which is quite a live topic at the moment. Now, I'd say those figures were in early 2010, and with the increase in fuel costs in the intervening period, those figures are quite conservative at this stage, but quite substantial nonetheless. Now, there's High Street at doors. Two people can't pass, one person with a buggy, the other person won't be able to pass and has to wait until the first person passes. Now, the benefits, well, they were the estimates. If we reached our objectives, they would be the reduction in emissions, local air pollutants, and then there were accessibility improvements, quality of life issues, and economic benefits to the general public, predominantly from reduced vehicle operating costs. Now, this was a little slide that took my fancy some time ago. That's a couple, I believe, that were visitors to the city. And in High Street, the two of them couldn't fit on the footpath. That's the slide on the left. So the man is walking slightly ahead of the lady. But when they get to a wider section of footpath, they've joined, and you can see they're interested in, well, there's a possibility of some commercial activity. But in the area close to doors, as you can see, it's uncomfortable, and it's not a very pleasant pedestrian experience. Now, the Mobility Management Plan, adopted in 2009, and the Smarter Travel Group was set up in 2010 to implement and monitor it, consists of representatives from Kilkenny County Council, various sections, road design, environment. Bernadette is here tonight, and community development, and Martina is here also tonight. The Borough Council are represented by two of us, Mark Devereux and myself. Health Service Executive, the Health Promotion Unit, have two representatives. Waterford Institute of Technology, their Department of Health, Sport and Exercise Sciences, they have two representatives also, and Kilkenny Sports Partnership. And decided to concentrate on four key areas: the improvements to infrastructure, raising awareness among the public, behavioural change, and then the monitoring and evaluation. So this is two slides I couldn't fit on one slide, but this is the Kilkenny Cycling Network as adopted, and it's colour coded. You can see the red, I think, are what's completed to date, and then the various other dots are aspirations. And this document is early 2010, and quite a section of that has been completed in the intervening period. So I must update the map in the next couple of weeks and put it on the website. Now, you can see the G on the maps is a series of gateways, which would represent what we call the shared space area, in which it isn't possible to fit dedicated cycle lanes, etc. And that would then form the basis for the shared space philosophy and the 30 km per hour speed limit zone. The outer ring is the ring road, and the green dots are the section from the Waterford Road roundabout to the Callan Road roundabout, and work will commence on that probably in September to completion. There are also sections like Coots Lane will be completed within the next 6 to 8 weeks, and various bits that are being completed annually. There's quite a substantial programme. That's in addition to carrying out surface improvements to the streets. You might have noticed recently Parliament Street, Friday Street, Hebron Road is underway just at the moment. New Road was done recently within the last week. So there's Castlecoma Road is also due for improvement. So the surface then to improve the riding quality and to reduce the risk of accident. So the infrastructural improvements in the last few years, what has been, well, one of the items that was seen as vital was to improve the capacity of the ring road, and that's the work that's currently underway, and that's generally improving widths at the roundabouts, etc., which would reduce the travel times and make the ring road attractive in terms of time spent on your journey for people who wish to go from one side of town to the other, and there is no necessity to go through the main streets. The ring road will get you there just as quickly. And we have sorry. Are you having questions at the end of your talk? That's fine, thank you. Okay. The introduction of on-street parking charges, now that provides revenue. That wasn't the initial, but it helps to fund all of this. And in addition to that, it reduces and removes, we'll say, non-essential car parking from the core city streets. By that I mean people who were coming in at maybe 8 or 8:30 in the morning and parking and staying all day in that space. And the elimination of that has freed up space for business. And the Chamber of Commerce, etc., who were consulted on this, seem to be happy that it's fulfilling its function. Then there was the removal of some parking accessibility improvements in the Parade and the Canal Square. Car parking information signage on all the approach roads. You may have seen it's now complete, and it sort of eliminates futile trips, helpful to visitors, directs them to the nearest car park that is vacant and that has spaces. Then there's the provision of the orbital cycle route in Kilkenny Ring Road. That will complete probably around Easter of next year. And then you have the radial routes from Kilkenny Ring Road inwards. Still a couple to be completed, College Road, Fresher Road in particular. Then you have a lot of safety improvements done adjacent to schools. You have the implementation of the shared space areas with the 30 kph speed limits. There's one just outside the gate of the castle here as you go out. You have quite a lot of footpath and public realm and accessibility improvements underway. You have the linkage of residential areas with the shared space environment using the back lanes and the river, and the linear park, the lack and some links still outstanding, but all underway. A number of accessible bus stops have been provided, dedicated taxi ranks provided, and then additional crossing points and alterations to existing crossings. That's some of the improvements. You might recognise the boardwalk on the Lacken leading to the Ring Road. Not that accessible from the city end, and that's a matter that will have to be addressed to try and get direct access from the Dublin Road down onto the Lacken Walk without having to negotiate the steps. That's not going to be easy, but it's achievable. And then you have dedicated walking and cycle lane and back lane adjacent to the school. That's just the links through the market yard, footpath from the tea house and Bateman Quay leading on towards John's Bridge. Now, the additional infrastructure, and I suppose these are the major ones that are coming up. The pedestrian bridge of John's Quay, that's roughly from the Carnegie Library to Bateman Quay. It's hoped to enter the public consultation stage in that in the next month, or that way the preliminary design is more or less completed. Site investigation in the next month, etc., and then the public consultation period. The pedestrian bridge is not a major undertaking. Once all the planning and environmental issues are addressed, the construction stage will only be about 12 or 13 weeks. It will literally arrive on the back of a lorry and be lifted into place. John's Green improvements, that has restarted to complete around the end of August. Footpath at the Hebron Road roundabout, then that's in front of what used to be Johnson's Garage, and then that would complete the link from McDonagh Junction to the Market Yard. By that link I mean you don't have to use John Street to get from McDonagh Junction to the Market Yard. We have the Bridgeway and the Boardwalk, which is upstream of Green's Bridge, to link the linear park along Bishop's Meadows to the Peace Park and consequently on to John Street. We also propose a pedestrian bridge close to Ossory Bridge to link both sides of the River Nore without going onto the Ring Road. And then the Borough Council proposed to link a residential area to the city centre each year by using the old network of back lanes, some of which are maybe overgrown and are used for maybe illegal dumping and things like that. But it is proposed to light them and surface them and improve them generally. And this year the project is Coots Lane from Hotel Kilkenny to the De La Salle School, and also the laneway at the side of the CBS second primary school, leading you up on towards the Father Murphy Square, and ultimately towards the Western Environs, Roberts Hill, etc., using the lanes at the back of Emmett Street and Father Murphy Square. Again, that's an accessible bus stop that has been provided at Dean Street. You might notice the tactile curbing, high curb on the right hand side, which will facilitate the use of low floor buses if people are mobility impaired and want to get access onto a bus. There's about 5, maybe 6 of those completed at the present time. I think it's 4 more to go. There are some of the improvements in 2 crossing points. One is at the Butts, one is at Dominic Street. The issue here was that crossing distance was too far for elderly people in particular, so it was decided to put in a central haven, so to speak, and to reduce the crossing distance. And it appears from that the elderly are more comfortable certainly using a crossing of that nature. We've also done some on the Dublin Road, Bennettsbridge Road, etc. Now, the raising awareness, there are a number of events that are promoted. Next Saturday, for example, we have what we call our Smart Saturday. This was run for the first time last year, and that's a series of sort of fun events advocating alternative travel theme, going to be based mainly on the parade. There are details available at the back of the hall. Then other events take part in the Christmas market, Hilltown show, put articles in local and national media, promotion on local radio, signage on the benefits of smarter travel. It's linked in this week with Bike Week, so there are some additional signage on the streets. You may have noticed them on the railings, on the parade, they're on the new lights in Bateman Quay. Then leaflet distribution on the health benefits, and then there's promotion in the residential communities, mainly done by the Health Service Executive and the Community and Enterprise section of the County Council. Behavioural change. Again, Health Service Executive have taken on the task of two large public service employers participating in a 2-year programme based at workplace travel planning and reducing the dependence on private car. There's intervention at secondary school level. 2 schools, Loreto and Presentation, are doing a 2-year programme which is administered by the Waterford Institute of Technology. It's predominantly with transition year students, and what it is doing is identifying and removing the perceived barriers to cycling. And I can identify with that very well. My daughter left Loreto, I think it's about 8 years ago, and she used to cycle to school every day. And a recent visit to Loreto, there was no bicycle in their bike shed, and they had an extensive bike shed. But there's not one student of Loreto cycling to school at present. Primary school, we haven't much involvement in primary school because Untashka are already dealing with it with their Green Schools programme. And then again, like I say, community groups, Kilkenny County Council and Health Service Executive, working with community groups and giving various advice, information, etc., all leading to, hopefully, to behavioural change. And then the final leg is monitoring and evaluation, and to that extent, the local authorities are carrying out the surveys of traffic and cyclist and pedestrian activity on the Ring Road, and on the radial routes, and on High Street, Rosin Street and John Street. There's a 5-year survey, and this is a very detailed piece of work being done by WIT, and it's done on family travel behaviour around the city, where a number of families have agreed to be part of the programme. They have been surveyed, and they're going to be resurveyed at reasonable intervals to see if there's a change in their travel behaviour. And the results are being compared to Clonmel, which is a base town but doesn't have a smarter travel programme. And a similar survey is underway in Clonmel, and the results in both places will be evaluated at the end of the period. And then there'll be a review on the completion of each. Now, other initiatives, Park and Stride. Now, that's a little thing that could be very successful if we could manage to get it off the ground. It's predominantly using underused car parks that might be privately owned, and try to get people to drop off their students and let them then use a safe route to school. There are 2 car parks that have expressed an interest. They're attached to shopping centres, and we hope to progress that over the next couple of months. City bus service. Now, we looked at this previously, and commercially it's not a success, but I think there's a case to look at it again from the point of view using a small capacity, low floor electric vehicle. And it probably would need subvention, but when the infrastructural stuff is more or less completed, certainly funds would be freed up from particularly the parking revenue, and that could be used for subvention of that. City bike scheme, well, that has been examined, and it's unlikely to be successful until there is an improved cycling environment in the city centre. And we have spoken to particularly one operator in that respect. And finally, park and ride, which is that requires major investment, and I think experience elsewhere shows that Kilkenny doesn't have the critical mass for it, nor is it commercially viable. We did try it at Christmas a couple of years ago, using the watershed and the mart as the car parks, and it wasn't successful, despite extensive advertising. The thing about park and ride in Kilkenny is that it offers no travel benefit. You won't be quicker on the bus than in the car. Finally, I just thought I'd stick that in. We can be inclined towards laziness. Nicely parked in the green area in Market Yard. Now, what is the future? Now, at some stage, Kilkenny City will have to adopt a one-way traffic system in High Street, Rosine Street and John Street. There are a number of pinch points in the city centre that are completely unsuitable for two-way traffic. I've shown 2 of them there earlier. There are about 5 in total. And some of these areas are potentially dangerous, particularly for a person that steps off the footpath inadvertently or carelessly and gets struck by a passing vehicle coming from behind. All new works must comply with the Disability Act, and to that event then you have to have minimum widths for footpaths, and you must make adequate provision for those with mobility impairment, and that's the law. Now, studies and recent experience has shown that the Central Access Scheme bridge is essential. It's essential towards the provision of the one-way system, or indeed park pedestrianisation. Now, the recent purchase then and the redevelopment of the Diageo site, that will change the dynamic of the city centre completely. It will offer new opportunity, certainly as regards providing additional pedestrianisation with alternative provision for traffic movement. That was High Street, and I don't propose that we return to that, but that's what we propose to do with it, starting probably in October. It'll be about a 3-year programme to widen the footpaths where it's possible to do so and provide a better pedestrian environment in High Street. Thank you.
Thanks, Kieran.